Alright, welcome everybody to another video. Today I wanted to do a really in-depth breakdown of how to use an Elgato HD capture device to record on Linux, to record your gaming footage if you're into that. This video is going to be a bit longer because it's a bit of a process, but I wanted to really break it down step by step for everybody in a video. So, you knew what to do pretty easily. And there's going to be some links down in the video description for you, just for ease of access to pages that are, of note in the process here. So I'm starting out here on this GitHub page here. Now, the way it works with Linux is there was no official drivers for the Elgato HD, so someone had to make the unofficial ones basically by reverse engineering everything, and it's but as you can see here, it says discontinued. So this driver hasn't been worked on in a couple of years now. The person who was originally working on it basically said, here, I got it to this state, and then that's all the work that they were going to do on it, for whatever reason. So if you scroll down here I'm just on the GitHub page for the driver, and this link will be in the description for you. But if you scroll down here, you can see it says supported devices, Elgato Game Capture HD. Unsupported devices are, the more modern ones. And now apparently it says work in progress here. So apparently they were working on the HD60 model, but I don't think it ever got to a point of being functional fully. By the time they finished going through everything. So in order for this to work, you're pretty much going to have the original Elgato Game Capture HD model device. And that's this one. I'll show a picture on the screen here of it. And basically that's the only one that's going to really 100% have a chance of working in order on Linux at least. So just because there aren't official drivers and everything. So the process here, we'll just go through that step by step here. It explains a lot in the ReadMe section here, of this page as well. And that's where a lot of the information that I'll be giving you actually came from, but I'll go into even further detail and just fill things out with my own experiences with using it, because this is how I capture any of my game footage for my YouTube channel, is through this process and this this device. I use these drivers and everything. So I'm pretty familiar with just basic use of it. I'm not obviously an expert at what's under the hood or what's going on there, but so to start it off, you'll want to go up here where it says code, and you just click this little button here. And down at the bottom here, you'll see this says download zip. So you want to go ahead and do that. And I'm using Firefox, so it pops up at the top here. If you're on Chrome or something, it might end up down at the bottom, whatever. It's just showing you it downloaded this zip file, Elgato GCHD master.zip file. So, and so that has downloaded the driver itself. That's really all you need to do for the first step. And then the next thing you want to do is go over to the actual Elgato Game Capture HD webpage, and if you go into their support, the Elgato main help.elgato.com, and then you go into the capture, and then Elgato Game Capture HD software, so on and so forth. Anyway, it'll get you right eventually to this exact page here that says Elgato Game Capture HD software release notes for Windows. And again, I'll have this link for you in the description as well, so it's just easy reference for you. You want to go down here where it says still using Windows 7, download Game Capture 3.2 here, and there's a link where it says here you can click on, and you want to actually download this version of their actual software for Windows, even though you're on Linux, because you need to extract content from this. So you just go over here, save it, save it. Oh, not save link. I could have done it that way, but you just click on it. That's the easier way. And then when that finishes downloading here in a minute, that will be the second part that you need to actually do this process. So be right back when that's finished. Alright, so when those are both downloaded, you can just go into your, in Linux Mint, and you just click your files button down here. and then you'll appear on your home folder, and you just go ahead and click on downloads, and it should be there. You'll see the two files. So what you want to do is you want to double click on this Elgato Game Capture HD master zip file that you got from the GitHub page, and Linux will go ahead and open it. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that this folder in here gets put into your home folder. That's the exact spot you want it to move. So to do that, you can just hit extract and then point to the home folder here, and then go ahead and hit extract button when you've got it there. It says extraction completed successfully. So go ahead and close that out. And if you go back to the home folder, you can see here's this folder here, Elgato HD Master. So the next thing you want to do is you want to actually take this folder and rename it so it takes off the -master part on the end. So it'll just be Elgato-GCHD for the folder name. So you can go ahead and use your mouse or however you prefer to do that, and just delete that out. Click off of it, and there it's got its new name. Now the next thing you want to do is go back into your downloads, and you want to take this file right here that you downloaded from the Elgato HD website, the game capture setup, and you want to actually move this into a folder inside the other Elgato GCHD folder that you just renamed. So the easy way to do that, right click on it, choose cut, and that will make it so you'll be able to move it. Go back to your home folder here, go to the Elgato GCHD folder, open that, and you want to put it inside of this firmware_extract folder here. So go ahead and double click that to open it, and then you just right click on anywhere in the white space here and choose paste. And now you can see that other file that you had before has been moved inside of this folder. Now the next thing that you want to do is we're going to enter some commands into the terminal, and we want the terminal to be pointed at this folder location. So the easy way to do that in Linux Mint is just right click on the empty white space here, and you'll see this option that says open in terminal. It says open terminal in the selected folder. So we do that, and here's the terminal that appears, and you can see it's already got this folder that we were just in open as its location that it's looking at. And for this next part, we're actually going to enter commands into the terminal one at a time. And after each one, you're going to hit enter on your keyboard to run that command. That way, make sure you run each one, and then you go to the next one, and you run the next one, so on and so forth. You'll just run them one at a time individually, rather than trying to run them, all at one time. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I have them saved in a text document. I'm just going to go ahead and paste them just to save time, so I don't have to type them out manually. But I'll show them on the screen here at each step, and also I can put them in the description for you as well to make it easier, so you have something you can just copy and paste in your own terminal. That's a little bit easier. One thing to note, if you're not too familiar with using the terminal, you can't use Control-C and Control-V for copy and paste keyboard shortcuts, so you just have to use the mouse, or you can go up here to edit, and you also have copy and paste in there as well. But you can right click with the mouse and do copy or paste that way. So just one little thing that throws off new Linux users. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this first command here, and then you just hit enter, and then it's going to ask for your password, because in order for this to work, you need root privileges in Linux. So but if that doesn't sit very well with you, if you go back to the GitHub page for the Linux driver and scroll down a bit here, you'll see this option here. Let's see, where was it? I know I saw it here somewhere there. Oh yeah, here it is. So if you scroll down all the way here to where it says general, it says the driver must be run as root, as it needs to access your Game Capture HD device. This is under Linux. You can alternatively follow the directions at this link here, and it says this will make it accessible to non-root users. So if you don't want, if you're not comfortable with it needing root permissions, then you can follow the directions that are given here. But otherwise, normally you just go ahead and enter your password into the terminal. And once you've got the password entered into the terminal, it will start to show some lines of text here about what it's doing. And it just gives you this prompt here that says, do you want to continue? Just review what it's doing. It's just telling you like the things it's going to be installing as part of this process and everything. And when you get the prompt, you can just hit either the Y key for yes or the N key for no, and then hit enter, and it will continue. And then it will begin downloading all the files that it needs, and I'll just go ahead and cut in the video till it's ready for the next step. Alright, with the first one completed, I'm just going to go one at a time and show each step as it, as the next line to enter into the terminal. Just again, I have them copied, so I'm going to right click and paste. And here's this next one. And you go ahead and hit enter when you're done either typing it or pasting it in there. And again, it's going to ask for a prompt. Just like the one before, and that one was a lot faster than the first one. So we'll go to the next step. Just like before, go ahead and paste the next one in and hit enter. Paste the next one in when that one's finished. Hit enter. And this next command is just going to change where the terminal is looking into a different folder. And you can see here it's no longer in the Elgato GCHD firmware extract folder. It's now in user local library. And this next command is going to create a folder inside of user local library called firmware. And when you hit enter on that one, it'll just move down to the next line. It doesn't really show you any change visually, but it did create that folder. Next command is going to move inside of that folder, move the terminal's location that it's pointing to inside of that folder that you just created. And you can see now it's in user local library firmware, that new folder that you just made. And for this particular command, the way it's displayed on the screen, I had it in my notes as just saying your computer username here, because that part actually gets replaced with whatever your username is here, which will show up to the left here. In my case, that shows there. So you don't actually want to type in your computer username here. It's not going to work. So go ahead and just replace that with whatever your username is for your login on Linux. And to do that, you may want to use the arrow keys to navigate inside of the terminal to go back and forth. You can see here I'm using the left arrow key to go back, pressing it repeatedly until it reaches the point right after the one that I want to go to, and then I can just use the backspace key and it will actually take that out, the characters to the left of it, and then you can just type it in from there, whatever you need. Alright, so when you've got that all set, then you can go ahead and just hit the enter key again. Alright, and with this command we're going to tell the terminal to go back to the Elgato-GCHD folder, and this time go into a folder called src. And we can see here it made that change. Now with this command in particular, it's very specific how you have to do it. You need to make sure you just type in C and followed by make. There's a space there after that needs to be there, as well as 2 periods also need to be following the space as well. And so go ahead and hit enter after you've got that typed in just like it shows. And now, if you don't have CMake installed, like I do not, it'll say command CMake not found, but can be installed with sudo apt install CMake. So, if you get this message, it just means it's your version of Linux doesn't currently have the operation or the software installed that it needs. So go ahead and just use the mouse to select this text right here. Right click on it. Do copy because you can't use Control C and Control V. Right click right down here, hit paste, and go ahead and hit the enter key to install it. Again, it will ask you if you want to install the packages and everything, and just go ahead and hit Y to confirm and hit the enter key. And now it's downloading, and when that's all finished, you can proceed with the next step. Now that you have it installed, you want to run this CMake space period command again. A quick way to do that without having to retype it in the terminal, if you use the up arrow key on your keyboard, it will actually step back to the previous command that you input, so you can use it multiple times. In this case, press it up arrow twice, it will go back to the CMake space period, and then you can go ahead and just hit enter. Now we're going to go ahead and change the reference point of the terminal to another folder called src inside of the src folder. It's a little bit confusing, but just go ahead and type that in and hit enter, and you can see now we're inside Elgato-GCHD, the src folder, and then inside of that is another src folder. And then at this part, you just go ahead and type make and hit enter. Now if you see these warnings here that says variable, end of data offset set but not used, don't worry about that. That's every time that I've installed this, I've gotten those warnings about unused variables, but it doesn't seem to do anything detrimental or cause any problems. It doesn't mean that it failed to work or anything like that. It should still be set up just fine, even despite that. So and with that, it is actually finished being installed, and now from this part of the video onward, we'll look at actually using the software, how to record footage from it, and what you need to do to set that up for yourself. So, but the installation process from here is finished, so you can go ahead and close the terminal since you're done in there. And you can close your other firmware extract folder if you'd like as well. Alright, so once you've got the OBS all installed, what I do is I use a combination of two software applications in order to capture and record with the Elgato. I use OBS Studio and VLC Media Player. If you don't have either one of those, you can actually, in Linux Mint, just click up to the top here on the left, little globe looking icon, then click on it. This will open the software manager, and you can just type up here on the top VLC Media Player and OBS Studio. Those are the two that you'll need to install. If you are unfamiliar with using OBS Studio, I do actually have a video where I talk about the basic setup for recording videos with it. So if you need help with setting that up, you can check that video out as well. But once you have both of those installed, the next step will be to get whatever game console it is that you're trying to record from. Start that up, get it all hooked up into your hardware, get it hooked up to the Elgato itself. Plug the Elgato into your computer if you haven't done that already, and then the HDMI out cable from the Elgato to your TV. Get that all hooked up, and you probably will want to at least start your console up, or put a game on just like to test to make sure the footage is coming through correctly and everything. Depending on what settings you use at this part, you may have to fiddle with it a little bit to get the right settings for your device. So I would recommend just start the console like normal, get it all hooked up and everything, and then just put something on in the background for a little bit, so it can a game, or even just idle at the the main home screen of the console or something, so it can at least show a picture through it, and sound too. It's good to test your audio as well. So to do this next part, you're going to have to do this every time you go to use the Elgato to record, and that's using the terminal. We're just going to open the generic terminal with no preset location. You could start it from the location needed every time if you'd like, but either way. So you can either do that in Linux Mint by just going down here to this black icon. This is terminal, or you can use control, like hold the control key, the alt key, and press T for terminal as a keyboard shortcut to do that. So we'll just go ahead and go there, and it'll just give you the default settings here. So the first thing we want to do is point it to a specific directory. And so I've got that pasted here. It's just the Elgato Game Capture HD folder that you made, the source folder inside of that, and the other source folder inside of that. So every time you go to record and capture footage, you're going to need to start either by opening the terminal in this location already, or just opening a regular terminal like we did from the desktop here and changing its directory that it's looking at. Because the goal is to get it just like this, where it's pointing at Elgato-GCHD inside the source folder, inside of that, and then inside of that source folder, the second source folder. A little bit confusing, but just start with that command and it'll point you right to it. Now, if we check back on the GitHub page for the Linux driver, if you scroll down a little bit here, past the install stuff, past the usage, you can read what's shown here in the command line. That's helpful. It tells you what the different commands are that you can use for it, and what they mean. So definitely look that over so you have an understanding of it. It tells you what values you can input in there as well. For example, the color space is, these are the options you have. And the different output options and resolutions and things like that. I'll be going over that here shortly, but just in general to let you know that everything that I go over and plenty more that I don't go over in this video, you can find out even more information from this part of the page here as well, in how you can actually implement the recordings and everything. So for starters, I'm assuming we're going to use HDMI sources. If you're recording from a PlayStation 3 console, you're actually going to have to use Component instead. And this even said it in the documentation that you get that came with the Elgato HD device. For whatever reason, I think it's something to do with copy protection. They did not really have a way to disable that within the PlayStation 3's options itself. So to bypass that, they pretty much said, here's how we're going to do it. And when you got the Elgato Game Capture HD device, it actually has a little adapter that came with it to be able to use component cables instead of HDMI. For any console where you would be able to, use component cables instead. So it actually says in the documentation that comes with the device that to record from a PS3, use the component cables. So as far as I know, that's the only way to do that. So if that is the console you're trying to record from, you are probably going to need the component cables, the little adapter that comes with it, as well as setting this to component instead of HDMI when the time comes. And on a similar note, if you are trying to record from a PlayStation 4 console, and you're trying to use the HDMI, it's okay to use the HDMI setting for that, but there is a setting on the PlayStation 4 console that is going to be required to be turned off in order for the picture to come through, right? Otherwise you'll just get a black screen, because again, it's a copy protection related related setting, and you want to turn that off to be able to actually record. So just go ahead and give these a look through. Like I said, I'm going to go through the general process that I use just to run it, but you may need to tweak some things, or you may want to find out what other settings there are. And this usage and command line and all this whole section here of the ReadMe is going to be more helpful for you than what I can cover here. And it also has a section down here for supported resolutions of each input and things like that. So very thorough reference here for you to get it working exactly how you need it to. So back at the terminal here, once we've got it pointed in the right direction, I'll just go ahead and copy over the command that I use. Alright, so on the screen here, you can see there's this command that it just consists of the options that were shown on the website, on the GitHub page here. It's all the ones that are shown here: C for color space, I for input, and then input source. So we'll just go over those really quick here. So the first one we've got is on the list here is the ./GCHD, which, as it shows here, it's just showing you the general usage. You can go ./GCHD, and then what follows are options and the destination of it. So in general here, the -IR part, that's short for input resolution, and in my case I've put 1080 on there because I'm going to do this at 1080p, and you want to set that to whatever your console is displaying in, whatever resolution it's in. You want to generally set that there. This is just saying, the -input is just saying what the input source is, and then that, in this case, it's HDMI, because I'm connecting my console with an HDMI cable. The next one here, -color -space, and so you can see that one down here. You could do it as -C if you want, but I just did it as -color -space, just like it shows there. And in this case, RGB, that's probably going to be what you would want in most cases. But there are some exceptions to that I've noticed, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But just to keep things simple, we've got that going here. We've got it pointed to the right directory, and now we're just going to go ahead and run this. And again, this is just what you need to do when you first start. When you go to record. Every time you go to record, you're going to need to change the directory to here, and then put in whatever combination suits your console in order for it to record properly. So when you've got that all in there, just go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to ask for your password every time, unless you did the setup options to make it not require root access. So when you finish putting in your password, you'll see this other option below, this text that says FIFO, which is short for first in, first out, I believe. I'm not really sure what the significance of that is. I just know what the acronym means, if that's even what it is in this case. But it's saying /temp/tmp/GCHD.TS has been created. And it says waiting for user to open it. Now, I use VLC at this point to open this file that it's talking about. This is not the only method. This combination of VLC Media Player and OBS Studio, it's not the only method you could use to get this to work. It's just the tools that I am familiar and comfortable with, and it's what I use to do this. So that's what I'll be showing you, how to access it and everything. So when it's saying that, it wants you to actually open this file. So to do that, we're going to actually need to open VLC Media Player. That'll be the next step. Once you have VLC Media Player open, you want to go up here to the menu and click where it says Media. Choose the Open File option. Now, it'll most likely be somewhere not where it needs to be able to find this folder, because you'll notice back here on the terminal. In the terminal, it said it's in /tmp/GCHD.TS. So that's the GCHD.TS is actually the file name itself that it created, but it's in the /tmp folder. So in order to find that in Linux, the easiest way is to just go to the top where under this lookin section, click where it says computer, and then that will point you to this slash. And you'll notice the first, it says /tmp, so that first slash is talking about this directory here. And then if you scroll down from there, you'll find the tmp, and go ahead and open that folder. And if you check in here, this is the actual folder that we wanted to find. We'll double check on what it says on the terminal here. We'll see we're inside the temp folder, and now we're looking for a GCHD.TS. So if you select this file name, or you can type it out if you want, and you just copy it, because what happens is you'll go into this temporary folder, and the file's supposed to be there, but it doesn't see it. It's not seeing it at all. But that's okay. What you want to do is just type in the file name, or you can right click and paste it if you copied it, and just go ahead and hit enter anyways to open it, even though it's not finding it. And another thing I tend to do is I'll go down here where it says media files, and I'll just do all files, because sometimes that gets it to show up when normally it wouldn't. And even if it doesn't show up, it doesn't matter, because it will still be present in that folder even though it's not appearing. It's very strange, but this is something that I end up having to do every time. And what I'll do when I go to start a recording is usually it will remember the file name part, and it will remember the directory once you've opened this one time, so that's helpful, but it won't necessarily appear in here properly. So what I'll always do is I'll always go to all files, even though it starts on media files every time. I'm not sure if that has any significance or not, but I just do it anyway because that seems to be what works for me. So even though it can't find it, it's not seeing it or anything like that, just go ahead and type it in there, do all files, hit the enter key, because it's not even going to let me open it. It's saying, oh, I don't see it. But if you just hit enter instead on your keyboard, it should work. And now it should be appearing. Here I have my PlayStation 4 that's working. It's showing up on the screen and everything. And in here, I just wanted to briefly show that what I was talking about earlier, the system settings. This enable HDCP option. It says if you turn off the settings, some applications cannot be used. So if it's on by default, and if that's still on your system, and you're trying to record from a PS4, you will get a black screen at this point, and it will look like it's not working right. But just turn that off, and you should be able to see, at least the menu and everything like that. So I just wanted to briefly show that while I had it up. If you're not seeing the screen correctly at this point, or if it shows up like really green colored, or if it's split in the wrong, I've had weird things show up where the top half of the screen is on the bottom half and the bottom half is on the top, like they're backwards with the black bar in the middle. I've had it come out really pink looking, and so if that's what's happening on your screen, you don't have to panic. It doesn't mean that anything's broken or anything like that. It just means that the settings that you chose to use here at this step were not correct for your particular console and for the thing that you're trying to record. But if it's looking good on your screen and it seems like the sound is working and everything, you can actually test it. You can move around, or like I said, if you have a game playing in the background, that's usually the easiest way to make sure it's working and there's sound and everything. And if that is functional at this point, then you have it displayed. So now the next step would be to open up OBS Studio. And it doesn't necessarily have to be OBS Studio. It could be, again, whatever your recording software is. But in OBS Studio here, if you go to window capture, that's the one I usually use for when I'm recording games, and it'll say device is not connected or not available. You just want to click on that and make sure you're selecting your GCHD.TS from VLC Media Player, and that will show up for your recording right there on the screen. And then, just like you would any other recording, you hit start recording, and it should be capturing everything on this screen. What I like to do is also hit this minimize button here to show the desktop. It minimizes everything, and I just leave the VLC media player window open. I double click on it so it's big, and then from there I'm set. The recording should be starting. And what I'll do, you don't want to actually play from this view because there's a delay. When you press a button or do anything, there's a couple seconds noticeable delay between when it shows up on the screen. So as you're playing, you actually want to switch it over to the input that your Elgato is plugged into on your TV, and you just leave your computer running and recording on a separate input or that sort of thing. Trying to play it out of this view is very unwieldy, and you will not have a good time with it. So, but that isn't a Linux specific thing. That was also how this device works, even in Windows with official software and everything. So it's not just a consequence of this particular setup. It's just how the device is. So just keep that in mind. And when you're finished with the recording, you can just go ahead and stop the recording that you did over here in the OBS Studio. And then it will say recording saved at the bottom here, and it'll tell you the file name. You can go ahead and close that out when you're done with that. From the VLC media player, you can close that as well when that's done. And it will sort of do a little thing there, makes it a little black. And then from here, if you need to, you can hit the Control and C like you would go to copy, but in this case it does something totally different. It says stop signal received. So from there, you can see it says terminate, called after throwing an instance of runtime error, and it'll say failure, changing states, aborted. That's just normal messages that you see every time when you stop recording. And from there, the recording is done, and you're basically disconnecting all the the prompt to record and everything. So that's kind of like turning off your Elgato device for the moment. And that's pretty much it. Then you should have your recording captured with OBS Studio. VLC media player is all set up. So the next time you go to run it from scratch, I'll just close this out to show you. So you would just open a new terminal, paste back in your previous change directory to point it to the right directory. Repeat your input that you used before. And again, it will ask for your password. It will tell you that it's waiting for you to open the GCHD.TS file. So you go ahead and grab VLC Media Player again. Repeat the steps of going to Media Open File. And now you can see it remembered that you found this file from the last time. And now it's actually showing in there. But I've noticed in my personal experience that if I click on that to try to open it, or if I just hit open, that it sometimes gives problems. So what I'll do is I'll just click down here, go to all files, I'll click on this, and you can see now that it went to all files. That other file, that GCHD.TS that it found, it disappeared. So this is just what I do every time. Then I hit open. Now you can see on the bottom that it's trying to find the file, and it's searching with this little orange bar going back and forth and searching and searching and searching, and it's not finding anything. It doesn't seem like it's working. This is a common thing, and this is exactly how I usually see it happen, where commonly it will be once you've made a recording, closed everything out, and then you go to make another recording again, it will do this and it will get stuck. So pretty much what I've gotten into the habit of doing is either unplugging the Elgato HD device from the computer itself, so unplugging the USB cable basically, before I try to record a second recording. Or anytime when you see it do this. Pretty much what you have to do is just close out VLC Media Player, because it's just going to sit here and do this forever, and it's basically in a stuck loop state. So close that VLC Media Player out. And you go ahead in here and you do Control C, and it'll say stop signal received. And most likely what will happen here is this little cursor will blink and blink, and it will just stick here as well. So if you see this pattern where VLC Media Player seems to get stuck, the terminal seems to get stuck, pretty much the only solution that I have found is unplug the USB cable from your computer that goes to the Elgato device. And it will say, unable to terminate correctly and all that. But from there, sometimes if you just wait a couple of seconds and plug the device back in, it will often work the next time. And even if it doesn't, what you can do from there is unplug it, restart your computer, then plug it back in. And you can see here the cursor stopped, so meaning it totally froze up in the process. It's not even going to be able to stop itself correctly. So at this point you would absolutely unplug it from your computer, and then if that doesn't work, if you go back in, try this process again once you've plugged it back in. If that doesn't work still, and VLC still hangs or whatever, then just restart the computer, and it should work fine from there after a restart. So between the two, usually unplugging it works, but even if it's being really stubborn and that doesn't work, then just restart the computer, give it another try, and you'll be good. So just keep that in mind, like one game recording per computer restart if you want to do it that way, or per unplug and plug it back in. Either way, between the two, the combination of the two, sometimes that's pretty much what you just have to do with it. It's just gonna hang a little bit and get stuck, and it doesn't like to record multiple recordings in a row. So if you're running into that issue, it's not really an error. It's not really a huge problem. It's pretty simple to fix. You either unplug it or restart your computer. So just for an example, here is the incorrect color setting, and you can see how pink it came out. That's just because instead of RGB, I used YUV. So if you get something like this where it comes out really the wrong color, really pink or really green, it just means you use the incorrect color space option for your device. So try the other ones, and that should get you a clear picture when you've got the right one. Same with the resolution. If you're outputting at a different resolution than what the device can handle, such as the Wii U, for example, the Wii U console can only handle 720p. So if you accidentally did 1080 or something like that, or if you try to do 720p input resolution on the Nintendo Switch or something, when it's outputting in 1080p, it's going to freak out. And so things like that, little tweaks like that as well. One final thing that I will note, it does talk about it briefly in the official documentation here. This output resolution. So we have IR for input resolution. So that's what the resolution is of the signal that's coming from the console. But you may want to output it at a different resolution. And so you can do -OR to do that. And so it says by default it matches the input resolution, but sometimes, like say for example, you're in a limited situation where maybe your hardware can't quite output the same resolution that that you've got from the console or whatever. You might want to do, like, for example, input resolution 1080, output resolution 720p. Maybe you're on a monitor that only can go up to 900p, 1600 by 900, or even 720p on an old small TV or something. It's pretty fringe case, but if you have something like that going on, you can use -OR and a different value if you need to. So just something to keep in mind for those that it's applicable to. But that's pretty much it. That's how you set it up, and that's how you run it every time. You're going to run the the Elgato HD, change the directory to that, and then whatever your command is. Once you've got the input resolution, the input type, and the color space, once you've got that figured out, that's pretty much it. Just keep in mind that you probably are only going to be able to make one recording per session before needing to unplug the device and plug it back in, or sometimes even restart your computer. But other than that, you are good to go to make your own game recordings, and all using free software and everything on Linux. I hope this was helpful despite the length. I hope folks found this thorough enough to really get through all the steps and take some of the teeth out of the process. So the tricky part at this point is just finding the original Elgato HD device in this day and age. You're probably going to have to get them secondhand. The official website doesn't really support them anymore. It's they're outdated as far as it's concerned. So, but you can still find them online, on online websites and things like that. So if you don't already have one lying around, you can still track them down. But thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.